Part 2 of Rome. In this section, we're going to talk about Rome versus Carthage, and it's going to be Punic Wars 1, 2, and 3. So, with full control of the Italian peninsula, Rome establishes a prosperous trade network throughout the Mediterranean. This brings Rome in direct conflict with the Punics, or the city of Carthage. The Punics were from Carthage, a powerful trading city in northern Africa and Tanzania today. A lot larger than Rome, and their empire was the empire of the day. So, the Punic Wars last from 264 BC to 146 BC. Rome and Carthage fight three bitter conflicts, three bitter wars. The conflicts are better known as the Punic Wars and was fought over control of trade throughout the Mediterranean Sea, or the Mediterranean area. So the first Punic War, Rome won control of the island of Sicily, okay, or the part of the boot that it looks like it's kicking a ball or something. All right, as you see, Corsica and Sardinia. Here you go. So Sicily's in here, and as you see here, this is the parts Corsica, in this area here. Okay, so this war lasts for 23 years, and Rome was able to defeat Carthage and gain control of these valuable islands. As you see, guys, not very far at all from the tip of Sicily here to Carthage. So there you go. Punic War right here. You see here that this is the Greek city-states, the Hellenistic civilization, and look at Rome right in here, and look at what they win in the first Punic. Well, not they don't win it, but this is Carthage, Carthaginian territory. Now there you go. Now it's Roman territory. All right. So in the second Punic War, young general from Carthage named Hannibal marches on Rome. Hannibal wanted to avenge Carthage from its first defeat in the years earlier. Instead of a head-on attack, Hannibal marches his enormous army, about 50,000 troops, 9,000 cavalry, and 60 war elephants through Spain, France, and then he marches over the Alps mountains in Italy. So they basically take all of this and they transport it over to Europe, and as you see the route here over the Alps mountains, and then they go to attack Rome. And he ravages the Italian peninsula for like 13 years. Okay, now it doesn't have it in the notes here, but why would Hannibal want to do this? Guys, it's real simple. He had nothing but hate in his heart for Rome, and here's why. His father was a Punic general, all right, or captain, something like that. He was an officer. And he was 10 years old when he watched his father executed about 5 feet from him by the Roman army. And they mutilated the body. And he said that he would never forgive them for this atrocity. So for the rest of his life, he wanted to do nothing more than defeat Rome. And he come pretty close to doing it. So as you see, this daring move of marching these elephants all this way, Hannibal loses half of his army and nearly all of his war elephants crossing the Alps. Despite this, though, Hannibal marches through Italy, and it says for 10 years, but it's about 13 years, he scores victory after victory after victory. However, the big thing here is he's never able to capture Rome. Their walls held. So, there you go, some pictures of them crossing the Alps. So, if you check this out, this shows you, this is a video on the Hannibal's elephants. It's a pretty interesting video. If you take the time and look at it. Rome, they're going to be led by General Scipio. And Scipio has a unique plan, something that they hadn't come up with in 10 to 13 years. Scipio comes along and he says, hey, we need to force Hannibal out of the Italian peninsula. And the rest of the Roman military was looking at him like, okay, wise guy, how are we going to do that? He said, well, it's simple. Why don't we attack Carthage? So it's in Africa where Scipio and the Romans finally defeat Hannibal. They actually attack Carthage. And so when Rome goes on the offensive and attacks Carthage, that forces Hannibal to go home. And when he went home, they defeated him there. Which, by the way, the Romans don't capture Hannibal, but I believe right before he's captured, I believe he commits suicide, something like that. Anyway, so here you go. Punic Wars number 2. You see what it looks like there. There you go. That's how Rome gets over here into Spain and all this good stuff. Punic number 2. So, lastly, in the third and final Punic War, this one was no more than a political ploy. It goes from like 146 to 143 or 149 to 146, something like that. This is nothing more than a political thing. Roman Senator Cato hated Carthage, thought they should go, and Carthage was not causing Rome any trouble at this time. But Rome, basically to prove a point, raises the army, and they march on Carthage and they burn the city to the ground. They enslave 50,000 of its inhabitants, and it was even said that the Romans covered the ground with salt so that the earth would no longer be able to produce any crops for them. With Carthage finally destroyed, Rome gains dominance over all of the western Mediterranean region. So, in a few decades, Rome would also conquer Greece, Macedonia, Spain, and parts of modern-day Turkey. Rome would now control all of the Mediterranean. So here's what it's going to look like. I'll go back. There you go. So that's what it's going to look like. So we have upheaval in Rome along with this expansion. Rome was now the sole power in the Mediterranean. They're very prosperous, but as the territory grew, so did the gap between rich and poor. The wealthy patricians benefited greatly from Roman expansion. They bring slaves from conquered territories in, where they were sold to wealthy landowners, the lafiundas, and which a lafiunda is nothing more than a plantation. At one point, 1/3 of all the population in Rome, slaves. Small farmers could not compete with the wealthy landowners, the lafiunda owners, and many people lose work and become homeless due to the vast amount of slave labor. Many of these small farmers were former soldiers. So you're looking at all these former soldiers who spent time fighting for the expansion of Rome, now becoming poor and homeless. This is a problem. So you need to know the Gracchus brothers, Tiberius and Gracchus. They were two brothers who tried to help Rome's poor. They're tribunes, and they come from the plebeian class. They tried to make reforms, such as limiting the size of large estates, and also by giving land to the poor, giving land back to the poor. Now, they're tribunes, and they come from the plebeian class, and as you see, they made senators and other patricians extremely angry with them. They made a lot of enemies, and they both ended up murdered. They both end up being murdered in different ways. So, and the older brother, Tiberius, serves first, and he serves 10 years before his younger brother, and they both end up murdered for trying to create these reforms to help these poor people. So, all this strife and upheaval between the rich and the poor would lead to civil war, numerous civil wars, by the way. It just says civil war here, but there are numerous, and conflict between the two groups within the same country. Many poor soldiers in the military became discontent and loyal to their own generals rather than Rome itself. Okay. It would now become possible for a military leader supported by his own troops to take over power by force in the Roman civilization, in the Roman Republic. Guys, one of the earlier civil wars that lasted for 40 years was between General Marius and Senator Cornelius Sulla. And what happens is they fight for power for 40 years, and they switch power on and off. Like Marius would hold power for a time, and then he'd be defeated by Sulla's army. And actually, Sulla captures Julius Caesar as an 18-year-old boy and has him up for execution. Julius Caesar is able to bribe the guard the night before his execution, and he gets away. But he would have been killed. So that leads to Julius Caesar in our next PowerPoint. But because of these upheavals, because of the slave uprisings, we're not really going to talk about Spartacus, but because of these things, Rome sees a lot of civil war in between its own borders during this period of time.